So everyone, welcome to the Power Play with CJ. I saw this comparison a few months ago, couldn't figure out the best way to, put it in the parameters of a piece, but here we go. In 2006, the Boston Bruins signed a big-name forward and a big-name defenseman in free agency after being kind of a morbid franchise for a while. A morbid franchise in a hockey craze market, I might add. In Mark Savard's Daniel Chara, obviously. And, let's take Savard's injury out of the, equation and just factor in, how they signed him with the young players they had in place and all that. Then you look at what the Minnesota Wild did 6 years almost to the day later, bringing in Zach Parise and Ryan Suter. Again, they had fallen on some tough times. They had some decent young players in the system, but they needed to get better, and they spent a shitload of money in free agency to get there. And then you look at the Bruins. They make the signings. Patrice Bergeron had already established himself as a really, really good NHL player. Krejci was in the system. By that point, they had drafted Lucic. They drafted Marchand as well in that 2006 draft. They had a lot of good young pieces, and the first year was a debacle, obviously, with Dave Lewis. But they slowly got better. 2008 went back to the playoffs. 2009, one of the best teams in the league. Tough one in 2010. And then obviously won the Cup in 2011. 5 years after coming together. And I think you look at they have that success there, but the next step after going back to the playoffs in 2008 was to sign a former 30-goal scorer that they got relatively on the cheap, who had fallen on some tough times. And of course, I'm talking about Michael Ryder. What did the Wild do? 2 years after signing Suter and Parise, they got a 30-goal scorer that had fallen on tough times. Thomas Vanek. And as much as those comparisons are great, obviously Vanek I thought was a better player throughout most of his career than Ryder. I never saw Ryder no-show in the playoffs like Vanek did this past year. I mean, Ryder had his consistency issues, absolutely, but he never just vanished. I mean, you could have sent out a missing persons report for Thomas Vanek. I mean, he was absolutely god-awfully atrocious. I mean, can't put into words how bad he was. And, you think about how much money he cost himself the year before, with, less than sale player from the Habs, and, not being the player he was previously. That's just the nature of the beast in the NHL. Shit's going to happen. But, I just think you're looking at where Minnesota is now. I would have made a coaching change, to be honest with you. I'm never really been a Mike Yeo guy. Maybe bring Phil Housley home. Maybe he's what the team needs. But it took the Bruins getting a new coach, Claude Julien, and then allowing those pieces to fall, where they were. You look at acquiring a Tim Thomas, kind of like Mana from Evan. Really no different than Devin Dubnyk this past year. I mean, he had a less than mediocre NHL career up to that point, and then all of a sudden for 2.5, 3 months, what have you, the guy's unbeatable. That's just one of those things you can't predict much. The same way you couldn't have predicted Tim Thomas's amazing ride to the top. So I'm just kind of sitting here nitpicking things and being like, this is what you're looking at with Minnesota, because I originally wanted to come down hard on Minnesota for building through free agency. It's kind of a tough thing to do, but the Bruins did it. And again, with the Bruins, not only do they have a homegrown system that was amazing, with the aforementioned Bergerons and Krejci's, they went out, Lucic, they went out, they made some deals, whether it was getting a Nathan Horton out of Florida, or getting a Dennis Eidenberg in Florida for that matter as well, to really solidify the positions. I think Minnesota, there's moves to be made, and you look at a big move the Bruins made, who ended up not being on the Cup team. Blake Wheeler, unrestricted free agent, 4 years after being drafted at the University of Minnesota. The Wild are the front runner, sleep Mike Riley was in a similar situation. So I'm kind of seeing it. It took the Bruins 5 years after signing Chara and Savard to win the Stanley Cup. This will be the fourth season that Suter and Parise are in Minnesota. So, it's up to Charlie Coyle, Michael Gramland, Jason Zucker, Jonas Brodin to kind of become the supporting cast. The the Patrice Bergeron and the Johnny Boychuk and Johnny Boychuk wasn't homegrown. They got him Colorado, but either way, you see where I'm coming from. So I'm not closing the door on Minnesota winning the Cup in the next 2 years just because their track record in terms of similarities to the Bruins is almost identical. Now next year they need to get a sniper out of the state of Florida. So maybe they sign Stamkos. Obviously, 4 years after the Chara and Savard signings, they got the Bruins got Anthony Norton and Gregory Campbell to solidify their first line right wing and fourth line center positions. After those two being the biggest positions of weakness against the Flyers the year before. Anyway, kind of just spitballing here. Let me know what you think. Later, guys.